What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Ton and Devo Show. We're going to talk Cuse hoops for sure, but we're even talking a little bit of Cuse football today. We got a special guest on coming later in the episode. But first, let's get into the Cuse hoops, and they've been doing great these first two games. Defensively is really where they've been hanging their hat. Averaging or excuse me, allowing only almost 45 points per game. I looked it up, and that's first in the nation. There, first in the nation in scoring defense and also first in the nation in defense efficiency.
I mean, that's good. I don't know. Sometimes stats, they can either look too bad or they can look too good. You know what I mean? I
Right.
don't know if I'd weigh too much on stats, especially this early in the season. But everybody, we know that the real test is going to come when they go out to Vegas. But they are looking better. Look at a drastic improvement. And I think the one thing that's on everybody's mind and what I hear everybody talking about is JJ. So
Yeah.
what have you been hearing about JJ with his injury? When they think he's coming back, what have you been hearing?
Well, first off, about the hamstring. That's tricky, man. Like it's not really. You just kind of wait and let it heal. It's not too much rehab you could do for it. I think you could put heat on it and do all that stretching and cautious with that. But it's really just a day by day thing. I heard Coach Red speak to the media the other day. He was saying that he should be ready. He could possibly be ready, Saturday against Drexel. But I think personally, if he's not 100% ready to go, you just hold him out until next week against Houston and Kansas and those guys in Vegas, because you don't want to bring him back too early, and because hamstring is like an injury where it lingers, right? So you go out there and it's messed up still. Now you tear it the whole way through, and you're probably out for the season if you're doing that. But I think they're lucky that we talked about their depth. They got good depth, and obviously with Cayenne playing so well these first two games, now they're starting to talk about, hey, is he going to be replacing JJ in the starting lineup? Which I don't think. I don't think you do that yet, right? Obviously, if you get later into the season and these things are still happening, then you look at it. But I'm looking at it more so from JJ's a senior. He's had a hell of a career. He's leading scorer, for Syracuse last year. He really carried the team. And obviously this year, a whole different team, right? Night and day from last year. But still, it's a mental part that comes into play too, because it wasn't his fault that he got hurt. So for somebody to lose their starting job, due to injury, it's tough. So I just think, when he's able to come back, when he's able to play, you put him back in that starting lineup. And then you bring Kyan off the bench, and he's the spark off the bench. But it's tough to have that discussion this early, two games into the season.
Yeah, it's a little early for that. But going back to JJ, you know, when they ask a coach when they think a player is going to be back, I'm always kind of like, is he the right one to be asking that question to?
Right.
Should they be asking the trainer that, or should they be asking the, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I don't know. Do you think the coach just be, and this is just not just Red, this is just in general, where
Right.
they're like, okay, well, hopefully we can have him back by this day, and they just kind of throw a date out there. But sometimes it's like kind of putting pressure on the kid to be able to come back by the date that the coach said and told all the media that they might be coming back on. I don't know. Whenever I hear a coach do that, I kind of look like, why do you say you think he's going to be back by a certain date? You know what I mean?
And he's only going to say so much to the media, right? I mean, I understand he wants to keep things in house, but even last year, you talk about Donnie Freeman.
Yeah.
He was playing hurt. I mean, no one knew he was really playing hurt, and then when he got hurt and he was missing games, you heard Red say, "Oh, we're taking our time. He could be back in a couple of weeks," and obviously that ended up being the whole year. So I guess you got to take it like a grain of salt, right? You can't really look into it too much, but we know that they want JJ back, and he's a guy that obviously athletic ability, getting out in transition, another scoring punch. I averaged almost 20 points a game, last season. So they definitely need his presence, but I just think that Red's not going to give him too much. He's going to let the media speculate, and that's where you end up having all these different narratives. Oh, maybe Kyan's going to start, and this and that. Is he hurt? Is he going to come back? Is he going to be in shape? So you still have all those narratives, but that's what the media does. So I guess we understand sometimes when coaches could, kind of get frustrated with the media. But at the
Yeah.
same time, that just comes with the territory. That's
But
the
also
landscape we're in.
you can say we don't know. You can
And
say
keep
that.
it. You can't.
Right? There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that.
How about just flat out like I don't know? Right. Yeah.
Right.
You're right because then what else can they really ask you?
Right. We don't know.
Instead of repeating the same question in different ways, which they'll figure out a way to do. But
Yeah.
you're right. You just kind of to make it easy on yourself and in the program. Hey guys, look, I don't know. It's day to day right now. He's rehabbing. He's doing this. He's just trying to get better. But I don't know.
Right. I think that's the
right.
best time.
Yeah, it'll clear it up real quick.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the positives that we've seen for the team because they definitely did make a big jump, especially from some of the early games. One thing I thought, we kept hearing effort before, and coach really harped on the effort, and he didn't like the energy, and he didn't like the entire feel of the game. That seemed to be different, but that is something that we're going to have to continue throughout this whole season. I mean, we are really a deep team. I personally think there's a lot of depth, on that roster. Of course, we know that as the season goes on, it kind of shortens a little bit, but there is a lot of depth. But really getting guys to all play on one accord as far as effort and energy, that's something that they got to bring every day.
Well, that's one of the constants, right? And I always say 3 E's: energy, effort, enthusiasm, because you need to have that enthusiasm, especially on the bench. When stuff's not going great, you have that bench there to support you and to keep that energy going. But those have to be the three constants, right? You don't want to have guys come in and you have to coach that. Like that you're already trying to implement a new system, get guys defensive principles, all that. And with how the landscape is with all the transfers, you don't get a lot of time to implement your stuff, so you want to take advantage as much as you can. Having to coach the energy and effort part, that's just taken away from that stuff, right? That shouldn't be in question at all. Like you don't have to coach that. And this year so far they haven't had to, besides the the early exhibition games, which is understandable. Like, maybe they're not taking it as serious, but I always said that those games are setting the tone, for the beginning of the year, right? How you play early on, it's not like an on switch. You can't play like that because you're building habits that way, So when you have that effort and energy, enthusiasm consistently, now you're building really good habits, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think what a real positive is for the Syracuse team is defensively. Like they're obviously, I said they're first in the nation in defensive efficiency. They've only allowed 2 3-point makes, right? They're doing a good job of keeping guys in front, and then when guys do get by into the paint, they got 2 3 rim protectors right there. I mean, William Kyle has 7 blocks in 2 games. Donnie Freeman's able to block shots. Sadiq White's a guy who could guard every single position out there on the floor. So defensively, it's just night and day. And then when you're seeing that early on from a team, like, all right, we're locked in defensively, like that's super positive, because usually defensively is when later in the season when you guys come together, everyone's excited offensively to score the ball and do all that. I think defensively is the thing that Syracuse is really locked in right now, and offensively, they're still trying to figure out the kinks in the ball movement and execution, and they'll make shots. Even in the second game, I think they made 8, 9 threes, so they shot the ball well, or better than they have been. But they're still capable of shooting the ball even better. But defensively, it's super positive seeing them locked in. These first 2 games.
Yeah. So who's impressed you the most? The different guys. Like I said, we have a deep roster this year, but who's impressed you the most?
So I guess I'll pick 2 different standpoints as far like offensively and defensively. So offensively, obviously Cayenne. I think he had a lot of expectations on his shoulders. Coming in, dad's mellow. Expect you to do this and that, and hasn't skipped a beat. You know what I mean? Came in and it, just like when you see him out there playing, it's just super confident, right?
Yeah.
As a young kid coming in, a freshman. To be able to have that confidence to play through your missed shots and your mistakes, that doesn't come along, a lot. And he's been able to come in and I think exceed expectations the first 2 games. No one's really expecting him to come in and average, 20 points, but He's came in, he's averaging like 16, 17 points. Again, we know the competition isn't what it will be. But I mean, the guy has an offensive package that not a lot of guys have, especially at that young age, shooting the ball deep, getting to the mid range, and then getting all the way to the rim. And what I was even more impressed of is his playmaking ability. Like
Right.
he's been able to get in the lane and find his teammates, whether it be a kick out three or a drop off, or he's thrown a few alley oop dunks. So I'm really impressed not only by his scoring, but his playmaking ability. And defensively, I think he still has some ways to go, but he's done a much better job on that side of the ball as well. And then defensively, who stood out and it's an obvious standout is William Kyle.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy that. From last year at that position, we had no rim protection. Now we have you can never have too much rim protection, but you could go down the line. You know what I mean? You're not gonna miss a beat when you substitute guys in for rim protection. But I mean, 7 dunks in 2 games, or no, excuse me, 7 blocks in 2 games. I mean, I think he has double-figure dunks in 2 games, and just like the guy is. Buying into what Coach Red wants him to do and what the staff wants him to do. Energy, effort, enthusiasm. We talked about that. That guy brings it through all 40 minutes. Every time he's out on the floor, he's not complaining. He's not doing that. He's high energy. He's a guy, especially in the middle. You want to have that because he knows he's not going to get a lot of post touches. He's not going to have plays called for him all the time. He's going to get the ball. He's being aggressive. He's blocking shots. He's talking. He's communicating. He's bringing good energy. So for me, I mean, William Kyle is a no-brainer. I mean, he's had games where he has 8 points, 13 rebounds, 5 blocks. I mean, you can't ask for much more from your starting center. And I like, when he goes out the game, when I like the lineup with Donnie at the 5 and Sadiq White at the 4. It's a lot of different lineups that Coach Red and staff can hit you with. But William Kyle on the defensive side of the ball, offensively, he's been efficient. No, he's been a guy that's really stood out, these first 2 games for sure.
Now, there are areas that still need improvement, and I think it's
Sure.
we can talk about that as well. I saw a few, but what are some areas that you saw that we need to kind of watch out for as we start playing some of the better competition moving forward?
Well, I think they got to take care of the ball. I think Binghamton, the first game, they did a good job of taking care of the ball. They maybe only had 5 turnovers, but the second game against Delaware State, they had some turnovers that were self-inflicted. Like if you're going to turn the ball over, at least do it where the guy's pressuring you and you maybe make not the right decision. But those self-inflicted ones, you can't do that against Kansas and Tennessee and in Houston. They'll take advantage of that going on the other end. And then most of their points, and we want this, you want to be able to get out in transition and push the pace. It's easier to score that way, right? But most of their points have been just that, making, offense out of their defense, getting out, high-flying dunks. In the half court, it hasn't been as crisp as you want it execution-wise. I think it's guys just figuring each other out and know where they want the ball, know what spots to be in. But they have been doing a good job of attacking the rim, getting in the paint. I mean, they had 40-plus paint points last game, I believe. And I could double check that, but they're doing a good job of not settling and being aggressive. And then just shooting the basketball. We talked about, they have more shooters this year with Nate Kings, Nathan George. He'll be able to knock down the shot. JJ, Cayenne. Those are guys that are all capable of making outside shots. And Donnie as well. He's a guy who could pick and pop transition threes. He'll be able to knock it down. Just you don't want him to fall in love with it. But when you start playing these better teams, you're not going to be able to get out in transition like that.
Right.
Like you're against these 2 teams because, number one, they're not going to turn the ball over. They're not going to allow you to be able to get out in transition. And they're probably going to bust their butt back and make you play in the half court every single time. They've been watching the film, early on against these teams. They know you're able to get up and play with pace. They're going to make you play in half court. They're going to make you, play down to the, 10 seconds on the shot clock and really execute. And that's when these guys are going to have to be able to lock in, know what the play is, know what they're doing, and execute all the way through to be able to get good shots. Because if they're not able to execute in the half court, it's going to be tough for them to, play against these harder teams. And then obviously going into conference play with all the scouting that these teams are doing now. So I think defensively, obviously they're head and shoulders above of offense, but offensively, I think the good thing is it'll come. And these guys, they have shooters, they have playmakers, they have guys who who could get to the rim and do multiple things. So just sharpen it up, in the half court and in the little details offensively.
I mean, I definitely don't want us to, I know college basketball is a little bit different now, and I know, I'm not that crazy about it, to be honest with you, but I don't want us to fall in love with the three. You know what I
No,
mean?
you can't.
But you see it happening sometimes, and
Absolutely.
not just with us, just as a whole. But we weren't knocking down shots a little bit. I mean, you're watching big brain, running the floor, fast break and everything like that. But like you said, you're not going to be able to do that on all teams. So you have to be able to execute. So we're going to have to knock down open shots.
You have to.
That's a key area of concern.
Yeah, real quick too. I think you made a great point, because you have to knock down shots to be able to loosen up the defense, right?
Right.
Even when you have great drivers on the offensive side of the ball, if you're not hitting shots, they're just going to pack it in boxes and elbows, and then you'll have no driving lanes. Now you have no opportunities to make plays for others, right? Because the defense is so like this. So once you start making shots, the defense goes from here to here. Now the driving lanes get up. Now you're making opportunities for lob dunks and kick out opportunities to play off the closeout. So they have to be able to hit jump shots. And you can't. And I think sometimes when you play against bad teams, they're not playing such good defense, so you're so open, right? Yeah. So you're just like, all right, I'm open. I got to shoot it, right? And then other times where it's like you're just settling and taking bad shots. So you got to find that in between, right? Or attack it so we could open up more opportunities for the perimeter, right? And then be able to execute and get through your stuff in half court. So now, the defense is moving from side to side instead of just staying in one place.
But that's where offensive execution is really going to come into play, because you have a team like Houston who really gets in you. You know what I mean? Who's really going to be, you're not going to have wide open shots like that. They're going to be right there in your face, with
physical, in you, bumping you.
Every single time, right? So the offensive execution that I see, we got to tighten it up. That's all. We just got to really tighten it up. But I think it'll get there. It's really early, but I think we got to get there quickly. All right. So talked about upcoming game Saturday. What do you see?
Yeah, I think it'll be probably their best test so far this season with Drexel. So far Buffalo was probably their biggest test, and that was the exhibition game. And no slight against Binghamton and Delaware State. Syracuse just overwhelmed them, right? And they weren't great offensively, but defensively.
They had a lot of people injured too.
No question. Yeah. No question. Binghamton had four of their primary players hurt. Two starters and two guys who get significant minutes off of the bench. They didn't play. Right. So, but again, you play the game. Whoever goes out there on the court, you know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. But I mean, and you got to give credit to Cuse, because if you're going to play those games, you want to win by 40, and they have been. They've been winning by 40, and with great ball pressure, overwhelming and turning these guys over, and then getting on to the other end. But I think Drexel will be. They should take care of business. If they've been playing defensively how they have been, they'll turn them over. They'll get transition opportunities. But they do got to be able to, be more crisp in the half court when they play in the half court, because the next game they're going to Vegas and they're playing against Houston. We talked about that on-off switch. You don't want to be able to be off when you're playing against Houston when you're going to Las Vegas. But Drexel is a team that they'll slow it down. Like I think I just heard a stat from somebody who said their pace of play is like they've been outside of the 330th in the nation, for pace of play. So they want to get it and slow it down, right? They really want to play in half court and execute, and so that'll test Syracuse's defense, because they got to be patient, right? They can't gamble too much. They got to be disciplined in their rotations and staying in front of their guys. But I think, again, Syracuse will overwhelm them with their athletic ability, their ball pressure, and then in the half court, if they execute, they got guys who can make plays, get in the lane, and then it's just about making decisions and making shots.
Yeah, I mean, you want them to capitalize on the things that they've been doing well, and one of the problems is that when you have a team that isn't necessarily to the level of the next team that you're going to play, like in Houston, you could get a little bit of a drop off. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's one thing that because like you said, as soon as they go to Houston, they have to have everything fine-tuned or it's going to get ugly really quickly.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. I mean, if we're just going to be 100% honest. So these little things that they need to correct that they get away with on some of these other teams, and no disrespect to them at all, they're not going to work against Houston. And so that's really what I'm, looking towards is how they are going to match up, because I was really impressed with Houston for the last few years. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And it's just their style of play is what I'm really impressed by. What's going on, Z?
I'm chilling, E&E.
E&E,
yeah. What's going on?
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Z, since we got you. You know what I mean? I want to tell you this. So a few years ago, I was on this program with Basketball News, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we was doing this live watch party type thing, and Antoine Walker was on there, right? So Antoine Walker comes on. I think I had a Syracuse shirt on. He was like, "Man, get that Syracuse shirt off, man. We can get into business in the finals." I was like, hold up, bro. Y'all barely beat them, and if it wasn't for Lazarus' hand being hurt and a few shots that didn't fall, y'all would have lost.
And a couple phantom fouls they gave J-Dub.
A couple phantom fouls, and y'all had like two teams that all went pro. Don't act like it was, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
Y'all barely got by them. So
and they was the NIL before the NIL.
I didn't say all that.
Patino had that going.
Yes, sir.
That game. I mean, it was special. I was watching it in high school. I remember watching it in Booker T. Washington High School in my cafeteria, and it was y'all was right there. Like it was, you know what I'm saying? So when he tell the story, like, we get in a bit. No, y'all did not give nobody the business.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. It was neck and neck, and we was going up and back and forth at some point where we were up at some point and get down. Like you said, I got hurt. So story about that, I get hurt. Loose ball in front of Rick Pitino. I reach down and grab it. Anthony Epps reaches down and do like a gator roll, and it snaps my wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm laying, I'm screaming. So now, remember, at that point, I'm leading the country in minutes, so I don't come out the game.
Right.
So my backup was David Patrick at the time.
Okay.
And you know how Boeheim is with freshmen, and if he don't trust you, like, you're not playing.
Right.
So two guard was Jay Sapola and Marius Giannoulis. Mm-hmm. So I go in the back, and then at that time we had Donovan too. Donovan could play, he just didn't play him. So I go in the back for them to X-ray me because we're in the NBA arena, so they got everything on site. Mm-hmm. So which was good about that. So I go in the back, they X-ray, and it's like, nah, it's broke. You're not playing. You done. We wrapping it up. I'm with Don Low. Don's wrapping it up, and I'm in the tunnel, and all you can hear is the bleachers going crazy. Boom! It sounds like the drum line or something. It's going crazy. It's rocking, and it was like a 2 or 3 point game at that time. So I'm like, nah, y'all crazy. This is my senior year. I'm like, nah, Don walking me back. I'm acting like I'm about to walk to the bench. I run to the tape. He looks at Boeheim. Boeheim's going. He goes, no. I run to the table. I sub myself in. They like, what are you doing? I said, man, it's the last game. Y'all crazy. And like I said, he doesn't play with my backup. He puts Jason at the 1 and Marius Giannoulis at the 2. Two guards that really can't dribble.
Yeah.
With them pressing us the whole game.
Or make decisions.
Right. Right. So I come in, they freshmen, we end up making good plays. And actually the last play that cost us is me and John on a break. Because my hand messed up, I'm usually throwing a lob. I throw him a bounce pass.
Right.
And he goes and get it, and they call a foul on John instead of it should have been a foul, and they call a foul on John, fouls him out.
I still don't know how that was a foul. You know what I mean? How's the foul on you when you go in to get the pass?
Yeah, the pass is to you. How's that foul?
Yeah, how's that a foul? Yeah, I mean,
and to be honest, we have played before. So to be honest, if John don't foul out, we probably win that game. Because he was killing him and Otis was killing everybody in the final from Sweet 16 down.
They were.
He worked Otis. Him and Otis worked out Carlos Strong, Dan Pierre, Dante Jones. Like and Todd was going to work too. So we was in the groove.
TB.
Yeah. They just had that machine. They had 7 pros on the team.
They did. But that's all I was like. Antoine Walker, I was like, no, y'all didn't get nobody the business. Y'all kind of got, I don't say y'all got lucky, but You know, if things was a little different, y'all the East, we lost that game. Just
Yeah,
know that.
some things was in their favor. I'll just say it like that.
Yeah. All right, so real quick before we bring on our next guest, what do you see with this team, this current team that we have now? What do you see from them? You watched it. I know you was at the game. I don't remember which game you were at.
First game, the Binghamton.
Okay, yeah, well, that's not a good. Well, since then they've gotten better since then. You know what I mean?
Don't say it like that.
Right. We'll throw that game out the window. But
Right.
what do you see so far?
Which is crazy because I was at the first game and I was watching the first game and I was like, and they were like, I know he was there, so they was like 0 for something from the 3 in the first half. It was like 0 for like 11 or 12 or something like that. And I was like, these dudes can't shoot at first. But it was, first game jitters in the dome with a real opponent besides the exhibition game. So watching the second half and seeing them get their groove, they got a better than they always had a point guard now. They actually got a good point guard that can settle and get everybody in their place. Lil Anthony's coming into play. It's going to be yet to be seen how him and JJ gel, because JJ stays, just to be honest, he stays hurt a lot. So that's the key of the chemistry thing with them. So, and we were up there Wednesday, so I got a chance the point guard was working out. Actually, my first time seeing him in person was talking to him and I actually talked to him about his mindset and told him a couple key things of, Adrian was saying that he's being too passive. Okay. And he's not looking to score. So now he's, missing opportunities and also missing passes or turnovers because he's not looking to score. Right. So we had that conversation of what are you seeing? What are you doing? And I think he actually looked like he gets it. So I think they're going to be all right. Like you said, I just heard when I came on, the test is going to be when they go on that trip. Yeah. But
next week.
Yeah. But these next 2 games, honestly, before the trip, they got to be able to put these teams that's not at their caliber away. It can't be close games. They got to show what they're capable of going into next week. Or it's going, like you said, it's going to go bad real fast.
Yeah, but they're in my opinion, they're the depth on this team. Like I think they could go. Of course, like we said earlier, we know as the season goes on that rotation gets shorter and shorter. But I see a lot of capable guys that can come in and contribute. Somebody does go down, or somebody's not, playing the way that Red wants them to play. I see them having a lot of different options right now.
What do you think? I think he got a good 9, maybe 10.
Yeah, I mean they played 11. They played 11 last game. They're not going to play 11, obviously, every game. What's funny is you even look at a guy, Bryce Zephyr, right, from Montana State, and he's not going to play a lot of minutes, but I just like how he coming out playing when he is playing. Ball pressure, he owned the ball, like he taking care of it. He just started last year. He just started last year. He probably would have been a point guard last year. That's how crazy, from last year to is. Like,
you're right.
He was started last year. He's not going to really probably play maybe 8 minutes a game, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Depending on how the game's going on. But I mean, he's a guy who would have started last year, and from the time that we've seen him in the first 2 games, he just comes in and does his job. Like he's a big, strong guard. He like on the ball. He has good pressure, and then when he gets it, he likes to push it, get out in transition, and so far he's made pretty good decisions with the ball. But like E said, I think they got really good depth, and I mean that's a great issue to have, right? It's not really an issue, but it's an issue as far as who you're going to play and put in and who works well together. But that's why you get paid the big bucks as a coach, man. What you mean? That's your job to put them together and gel, and what teams work well, what guys play well together. But the thing is, he has options, and he has a lot of different versatile lineups that he could put out there. But like you said, Z, you got to be able to knock down shots. Before you came on, me and E was talking about it. If they're not making shots, then the defense is just like this. Yeah. Now, if you're not getting out in transition, right, which it's going to be harder to do as the season goes along. It's hard to play like that in the half court. Now you're just taking tough shot after tough shot because the defense is sitting there waiting for you. You know what I mean? So
let's go to that point because me and Eton always talk about this. So with them having that, say they have shot issues, me and Eton talk about all the time. They don't utilize their inside. So now when the game's getting half court, they're going to struggle because they do got big men that's serviceable, but I don't see them using them.
I don't know, Z, because I've been impressed by the big men so far. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, I'm impressed by the lob action. Now he's been working. I like the energy of Sadiq. I like the way these guys are playing. I
Yeah,
think it
can
would
they
be
get
very
that on half
foolish
court?
not to use them. I think it would be very foolish not to use them. I will be clear about that. But
Mhm.
I like what they have as options.
No, I like the option. That's what I'm saying. I like the option, but are they going to use them? Like when it gets half court, when E was just saying, I heard E say Drexel slows it down.
Mhm.
So now you got to execute.
Yeah.
You're not running out as much because Drexel's not going to give you loose shots where you're going to be able to break out.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
One thing I do really love about the bigs, this probably these three guys, and I'm talking about Kyle, Freeman, and White. I'm putting White in there because he's a 4. He'll play,
Yeah.
maybe he'll play 3 in the league, whatever. But he's a 4 right now.
Yeah.
Right.
They do a great job of interior passing. If you these first 2 games, if you watch like flash, boom, here the kick out, William Kyle had a couple kick outs. Like they're aware as bigs, which is rare. Like they know when they get the ball, they know what to do with it. They're not oblivious to what's going on. And they're not gonna get, it's not gonna be like, hey, post up. They're not doing that. It could be a quick, like a cross screen, quick catch and rip and go right away, or a mid post touch. Something like where if Donnie gets it in the mid post, now the defense has to respect it and collapse in a little bit to give help. If and now you got to make a decision out of that. I don't think it's going to be like a true post up, but it's more so like elbow area, mid post area. Will they really give Kyle a post up look? Probably not for real, unless it's just coming off a quick, look right here where he could just get it and try to go up and dunk. But it's more so like those mid post areas, those elbow touches. That's their post ups, I guess.
It's true, and that's the game right now. It's more of a stretch than a post. So, and I'm saying even to use like that, that's going to help them. They got at least touch or look like they're going. We all
100%.
play that at a high level. Touching in the paint makes everything different.
It changed the whole game. And if you could do it where you're not having to do it off the drive every single time, you know what I mean? And you can just do it like, oh, fake, boom, all right, boom, get, catch and face, whatever it is, and you in that area, it just makes it easier rather than trying to have your guards do it every single time. You know what I mean? They're not going to be able, Houston they're going to move their feet.
Man,
they're going to be able to keep guys in front. And no disrespect to any guys on the Qs, but like Cayenne, he's crafty. I like how he moves the ball, but man, Houston going to get up and they're going to can you get by this strength? So they're going to get up. They're not even going to let him do all that. You know what I'm saying? Right. They're just going to get him up. He's going to have to create a space, jab off and try to get by that way. But it's going to be difficult as you keep getting later into the season. You play against, the Houston, Kansas. Now you get into ACC play, Louisville, Duke. It's a whole different athlete that you're playing against now. You know what I'm saying? So like these guys can move their feet. It's going back to you talking about executing in half court. That has to happen. You got to create some type of advantage with your execution. You can't always depend on giving a guy and tell him to go ahead. You can't sustain a season like that. Just relying on a guy you got to make it where you could get it easy sometimes if you're not getting in the transition.
Exactly.
No, so Z, last question. We gotta let you go. We're gonna have to bring you back on. You know what I mean? Another time. You're gonna have to be on time though. You know what I'm saying? So we can give you the full segment. You know what I mean? No. You was a pass first point guard.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say I would have loved to play, with you, just the way that you distribute, the way that you have. Is the pass first point guard dead? Because I've heard a few conversations with that. Because now it's like the pass first point guard, everybody wants to be the scoring point guard. So you're like kind of like a shooting guard / point guard. You know what I mean? Or a combo guard. That's like the thing that's more relevant now. I don't see people more being like you, Shaheen Holloway. You know what I mean? Like Chris Paul, really getting everybody involved. You think the pass first point guard is dead?
I think so. I think it can come back though, but I do think it's dead. And I'll say it started probably when I came back to you guys in 07, E, when you had Johnny and them, because Johnny wasn't a point guard. Johnny was a scorer and super athletic. Mm-hmm. So Boeheim and those other coaches, they wanted their guards to score. It turned into like, E, because you were there. We were big man Our forwards and our centers was a key element at the time. Mm-hmm. And then it turned and then it evolved with when E came in, and then when Johnny and them came in, it was perimeter. I remember in practice one time, I looked at Eve sometime, we were doing fast break drills and it was run to the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Boeheim literally got mad when it was an open play and they threw it to the basket. The big man kicked it out for a 3, or the big man was shooting 3. We had Musakea and Arenze shooting 3s.
Yeah.
On 3-on-2, 3-on-3, 3-on-1, 2-on-1.
I'm not a fan of that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
That's why he's laughing. You know what I'm talking
No,
about.
hey, you know, you don't have no business behind that 3-point line or anything outside of that paint. You better get back in there.
So to answer your point, right now, yeah, it's dead because these guys, and then with this NIL, and I got to prove myself. Everybody that's touching that's a guard thinks they got to score.
Yeah, I mean, I like the days when the point guard got everybody involved and then got theirs. You know what I mean? And then opened it up for them. That's a whole different conversation. We're gonna have to bring you back and we're gonna talk more about it. But thanks, Z. Thanks for coming on. Always much respect to you. And we're gonna have you back on soon.
I appreciate y'all letting me in, even though I was late.
We all good, man. You know, OG. You can be late a little bit sometimes. I appreciate you, though, man. That's my man Z. So now.